Does this actually impact Branded that much, or is Branded actually quite resilient? In this video, we're going to be looking mainly at the Master Rule ban list and how it affects the Branded strategy, and seeing that even though with such severe hits, Branded is still doing really well. And also, of course, showing you how you can actually build and play the deck to see success, because currently, even with all the limitations, and there are a lot of them, Branded still sees tons of play, both in Master Duel and in the OCG. So sit back, relax, and enjoy this guide to playing Branded under tons of limitations. And since I'm not so in tune with the Master Duel meta because I play more TCG than I do Master Duel, I wanted to just jump in and blindly go into the Master Duel meta tier list just to see where Branded is located in. So we can see that tier 1 is Rescue Ace and Snake Eye. Might not be updated to the current release, right? But it does still make sense. And then tier 2 is Branded. Tier 3, Pearly and Labyrinth. So yeah, I mean, Master Duel players, leave it down in the comments below whether you actually agree with this, but I thought that Master Duel meta would be the main resource to see what Branded is actually looking like, and it seems like it's doing pretty well. So this is the build, 60 cards, and you will likely say, why you're playing 60 cards when there's so many limited cards, you won't even get to them. But this is the magic of Branded, that you still have so many cards at 3 that will get you to any card in the game. So this is the build. I'm going to go over a little bit, what are the changes? Like, how is Branded not dead in Master Duel? How is it tier 2, the third best deck, with 2 Aluber, 2 Nadir Servant, which is a new change, probably for like Dogmatica engine reliant decks, not necessarily Branded, but Branded is obviously hit by it because this is a good engine card in Branded. 1 Branded Fusion and Opening, which is similar to the OCG. Like, how does this deck run? You will see. Like, this build specifically with 3 of these, 3 of these, 3 of this. This is what makes the deck run so well. And you like getting to Branded Fusion is not the hard part. The hard part is just like knowing how to play without even using Branded Fusion, which is very possible. 1 Tragedy, these are both crossout targets. 3 Albaz, which is mandatory. 2 Allure, yeah, this is the good start of the deck, but you don't really need it most of the time. 1 Mercurier, 1 Kit, 3 Cartesia. I think this is the most important card in the deck because it enables the most important card in the deck. This lets you play through Ash Blossom. This lets you play on your opponent's turn. This lets you trigger Quem. This card is everything for the deck, really. This is you need to understand, like, this is the center of the deck. 1 of each Limited Bestial and 3 Baldrake. These are mainly for high spirits. If you don't know what this does, this basically searches any card in your deck, any important monster in your deck. You reveal 1 monster and then a level 8 fusion of the same type that has 2500 defense or attack. So usually it will be Branded High Spirits, reveal a Bestial, and, for example, Albion and Titanic Cloud. You send both to the graveyard, then search any Albaz monster from the deck. And this also has a graveyard effect where if a fusion monster was sent to the graveyard this turn, it returns itself to the hand. 1 effect per turn. This searches every single card in the deck, guys. You need to get used to playing this. This also will enable Quem. So if you have an Albaz in the graveyard you want to summon to the field, High Spirits makes a card leave the extra deck, right? 1, where were we? Gimmick Bobby Nightmare, still a really good win con. Harder a bit in Master Duel because of the 2 called by, but still you'll see how to play around it in the gameplay portion. Maximus, 4 the Nadir, 3 Albion. This card, like, this is a new TCG approach. Exceptional card, foolish as any card in your deck, sets you up with whatever you need in the graveyard and draws you a card. And then 1 Lubalion, 1 Foolish, 1 Stark, 1 Grass, 3 Lightning Storm for Snake Eye, and also for Rescue Ace. Like, this is such a good card at 3, going second. Fusion Deployment and 2 Nadir Servant, 3 talents, because you more often than not you'll get ashed and max seed in this game. This will always be live and take care of your opponent's hand. 1 Branded Fusion and 3 Thrust to make it so we have more Branded Fusion with Fusion Duplication. 1 Lost, 2 Called by, 1 Crossout, 1 Opening, 3 High Spirits, 1 in red, and 1 Retribution. There's a few things that I'm not playing here. Branded Banishment, which is more like mirror match related. Super Poly, just because I don't have the slots in the extra deck, I want to use all of these slots for these cards. Like, I can't give anything up. You could play Garura instead of Lulu. It's also a good Nadir Servant target. If you really want to play Super Poly, that could be a play. One Dragon Sibelia, insane card that you must have in the deck. Warlord Furious pops a card on your field and your opponent's field every single turn. Also, big beat stick and works really well with the Bestials. Titanic Lad to summon the Quem in the end phase, to Albion, Quertus, and Masquerade for added pressure. This card will make your opponent play suboptimally, which is good. 2 Mirror Jade, 1 Lubellion, 1 Granguignol could be 2 if you want to get rid of a Lulu. And then Rinbrum, Albion for the Puppet, and Chimera. Let's look at some gameplay of how to play this deck, and I'll talk you through why Branded is still seeing a lot of success. Even though with so many hits, this deck can still run a 60-card build and be super successful. So you're going to see a replay of how to pilot Branded through hand traps, through Nibiru, through a lot of interruptions, and just have crazy foresight into how to navigate the deck under certain conditions. Now, we do have a way to pretty much everything in this hand, right? We have Branded Opening, Nadir Servant in case something doesn't go through, we have Lubellion, and we have another normal summon to search another way of continuing, but we don't really have any of, the important cards. No Aluber here, no Branded Fusion, no Cartesia, no Deployment, but we end up getting to every single one of them. This is a good Ash bait, and Serenir is a good search here because Branded Opening discards. Then Aluber and Serenir. With the Serenir, I'm going to already plan ahead for the end phase and make sure I send High Spirits because I know fusions are going to be sent to the graveyard this turn, which means that I'm going to get another card to my hand, just card advantage. And I search for the one of Branded Fusion, and it resolves. Branded Fusion here, I already have Lubellion in the grave. This is why I send Cartesia, because I'm going to be able to get to it a little bit later or just add it to the hand. And now we go for the Albion. There were a few lines here, but since the Branded Fusion doesn't get ashed and I don't get Max Seed, and I have Nadir Servant, I can make a really, really nasty board. But it's not going to be the case because we're going to get interrupted. We're going to be discarding Kit because we don't actually need more extension with Nadir Servant. Nadir Servant is going to be +5 during the end phase. It's going to be insane. Now, basically here, this is the point where they have to Nibiru you, right? Because otherwise, Lubellion gets you Branded Lost. And that's going to be like a lot of trouble. Now, we don't have tons here. We have Albion currently. But getting Nibiru'd actually helps us a lot. We got nibbed, and we go ahead and send Titanic Land. Why do we do that? Just because this Mirror Jade is going to go anyway. This is completely free, and we're going to be able to get this afterwards with Quem as well. Just return it. We banish this because we want to summon back the Mirror Jade later from the graveyard with Quem. So we got Nibiru'd. The only thing that we have right now in play is these two graveyard effects, right? We're going to have a big main phase 3, the way I like to put it. We're going to activate this so they don't keep the token, and then the Nadir Servant is going to dump Lulu and get Maximus. We have an extra Mirror Jade in the grave. We can banish it for Maximus, but I end up being a little bit suspicious of my opponent's extra deck, and I don't really need to send anything, because, like, think about this. I have this, this, and this. These are the only end phase effects in the deck. I just need this for the body and for the light spellcaster, so I can enable the Granguignol later. Now, we have 2 monsters and 1 card in hand. Look at how many things we do in the end phase. This is summoned by Titanic Lad, dumps Albaz. This goes back to hand by its own effect. Branded and High Spirits does the same thing as well. We go ahead and use Lulu to summon Cartesia from the deck, which is huge because you're going to get to Gimmick Puppet Nightmare your opponent on their turn, and then Branded in red, and that is it. Now, if I had another dragon in hand, I could even, and I still kept the Mirror Jade, then I could Branded High Spirits, but I only play 1 Granguignol, and I wanted to keep it, so no Branded High Spirits. We just stand on card advantage in hand. Now, I know I'm going to be able to Gimmick Puppet Nightmare my opponent, but Called By, like, this game gives you Called By a lot, right? So how do we make sure we bait that? We Shotgun Maxi. We have to Shotgun Maxi. Because now, they have to Call By it. and we basically need to wait for the main phase. We wait for the main phase, and then basically the first action that they do, we're going to be firing off the Cartesia. This was a bit scary if they search for like an evenly matched here, but it's Nimble area. So I did actually look at their deck list. They have a lot of hand traps, but now we just go ahead and fuse. Light monster, Dokkan is a light. Go for a Granguignol. And then just to make sure your opponent is a lot like under pressure, right? We chain a lot of cards. We chain a lot of cards, and we already chain Branded in red to make sure we get to Sanctifier. And yeah, this is just how much advantage all the cards that are just like not even Branded Fusion. This was not driven by Branded Fusion here, I think. This was mainly Nadir Servant. This was mainly the graveyard effects at the end phase. And Branded Fusion was resolved once, but it didn't actually get any advantage from like all the cards you see here. They just got from like different places otherwise. Leave your comments down below why you think Branded is so resilient in the OCG and of course in the Master Duel format, and give your thoughts about Branded going forward in the TCG as well. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.